I know usually we're not doing this thing here. We're usually at the Big Ten tournament, but I always remember, is it unusual for you to have the guys over for dinner for this right before the selection show? Because I thought that usually you were in the locker room here or something. Was that changing anything up there? Or?
No, I've always done it at my house.
Okay.
Yeah, dating back 15 years ago. So yeah, that was kind of why we did that.
What did you think when, well, first of all, like Shannon said, as long as it took, has it ever taken it that long, and as you've been going through this in all those years, and what was your reaction when you saw VCU?
It had one time. I was an assistant at Miami with Charlie Coles, and I'm not kidding, I think we were like the last one announced, and about 2 brackets before that he said, hey, because we'd won the conference tournament, so we knew we had an automatic bid, and he said, you do think we're in, right? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. And so that was kind of going through my mind, like Charlie saying that. But no, when I saw VCU, I thought, you know, I don't know a ton about them. I didn't see the game today. You know, obviously, you know the reputation of the pressing and the trapping and, you know, shooting a ton of threes. I think 40% of their shots are threes. So we're downloading everything now. We'll meet as a team here and take a look at some things and then get ready to roll.
Just real quick follow-up. Do you lean on Archie at all, your friend?
You know what? It's funny because, like, we can't talk about our conference opponents. And we've never done that, but it's always funny. You know, I know one year we played Sean, and he said, you're not going to believe it. He said, but your opponent, your conference schools were calling us, giving us information. And so, but I've always kind of held by the rule on that, but I don't think they think that through when they're giving them our information. So, but, you know, in all seriousness, Bob, with today's technology, there's nothing that you don't have, and there's nothing they won't have on us.
Calling and just saying, hey, by the way, here's how you try to beat Ohio State? To Sean? They were just offering it?
Getting calls and all that stuff. Yeah.
I asked Sam this, and he made a good point of, like, you guys have played, like, you know, you don't play as well, then you play well. It's like it's hard to maybe gauge, like, how you're playing over a stretch right now. But compared to how you've played against some teams lately, are you playing good enough to go win some NCAA tournament games, or do you got to be a lot better because it's the NCAA tournament now?
Well, I think this, Doug. I think it is, so much of it is, you know, our mindset. Like, for whatever, these guys were a heck of a lot more excited tonight than they were last year, just in terms of body language or whatever. Maybe it was just the relief that, my God, our name did come up, but you know, they knew, our guys knew a little bit about these guys. Not that they didn't about Dayton, but I think from that perspective, you got to have that excitement. You've got to have that, you know, energy when you go into these games, because it's 40 minutes, and leaving nothing on the table would be a crying shame in terms of preparation and getting yourself ready to play your best basketball.
And you've won a lot of close games in the NCAA tournament. I mean, I don't have to tell you that, but when you look at the games that have knocked you guys out in your career, I mean, it's like every one practically is a basket here,
right? A
basket there. Like, when you think about the NCAA, do you ever, like, think about those games for as much success as you've had to think, oh man, like, that one play here, one play there, who knows what could have happened some of these other years?
Well, I think it kind of always goes around, you know, because we've won some and we've lost some. And but I do think this, in the NCAA tournament, you know, it's so unique because you've got to be as mentally tough as you possibly can, because the timeouts are literally like half an hour long. And seriously, and so, like, you take a team takes a timeout on you, you can lose your momentum, because it's sometimes there are 3 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, and there's more of them. I think TV has a lot to do with that, but so having that mental tough, you know, you got to lean on your seniors in this one because of the uniqueness of keeping that fire going at all times, from warm-ups till the final horn. And some of the teams that I've had that have done very well in the tournament have had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder in terms of wanting to do something special. And hopefully our guys will have that chip.
You think they would chip, or can you tell yet?
Yeah, I haven't seen them yet. Just in terms of, we'll sit down as soon as I'm done here and take a look at it.
You've had really high seeds before where you get an opponent the first round that you're almost positive you're going to beat. Is this, here you're number 10 seed, you're playing in Portland, you're playing a team that's really good. If you win, you could play a number 2 seed. This is kind of what happens to you when you don't, you've been really good in some games, like when you don't take care of all your business,
right.
You kind of get. And does that really matter? Does it matter where you are, whether you're a 10th seed or a 1 seed or a 2 seed?
Yeah, it's funny because I think there comes a certain number, and as I look at when all the teams were, because usually once we come up I leave and I'm good, I don't care what else happens to anybody else, but seeing all the things today, it was like, I'm scratching my head a little bit like, wow, how did they get that or whatever it was. But, I think from that perspective, when you get in the range we're in, if I'm not mistaken, I think we were a 10 seed at Xavier one time and lost by 3 to go to the Final Four. We were in Orlando and then to Atlanta, I think it was. But, it kind of is what it is. And I think that's the biggest challenge we have and all coaches have right now is saying, okay, this is our avenue. This is the road we're going to travel. This is when we're leaving. This is when we're going to practice. This is when we're going to, so everybody has structure. This team they have to know everything. They don't like change. And so, that is something that happens. I think as a coach, you try to talk about, getting back to answering your question, I don't know where I was going with that, but throughout the course of the season, you're trying to remind guys, you don't want to add pressure onto them in early February or January but as a coach, you're saying, God, this game is huge in terms of, God bless you, in terms of what could happen with the remainder of the schedule, those sorts of things. So yeah, it does make a difference. But with young kids these days, if you're talking about, last year over at Penn State night for a game, I gave a dissertation on the seeding of the NCAA tournament to our guys, and we lost. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, well, I'm never going to do that again. Somebody asked me the other day that same question, do you bring that up to them? I'm like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. So you hope that they have enough of a vision to know when January, honestly, November, December, January, February.
When you get right down to it, I guess you're going to have to play. You have to play who you play, where you. They're not doing you any favors by sending you to Portland, but then you went to Buffalo, which was a lot closer, and you lost there. So I guess maybe Portland's a good thing. Maybe it's not a.
Yeah, we lost in Dayton.
No,
we lost in Dayton one time. Yeah, which kind of goes back to what I was saying to Doug. You got to hope that you're hitting your stride. Shots are falling for you, and quite honestly, you got to somehow, some way, you got to be playing your best basketball. And if it's not your best, it has to be better than the other team.
You said a couple questions back that the team last year wasn't as excited as this year's team is. Why
yeah, I don't know. I thought it was weird last year.
Did it carry into the game, you think? Or
if you go back and watch the tape tonight, you'll be able to answer that yourself.
Okay.
No, I don't know. It was an odd deal, I thought, but I didn't like because we were downstairs last year, and I didn't like the setup. I didn't like the togetherness. We had everybody crammed into our house, and I liked that a lot better.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you about, you've often said that you look forward to getting out of the Big Ten where everybody knows everything about everyone else. And I'm wondering, with what this team has gone through in the Big Ten this year, do you think this will be good for them to get out?
I do. I think that I just, it's a little bit more exciting. It's refreshing that you're playing somebody that you don't know. They don't know you. With that said, there's probably a few more surprises or whatever it is. But, we've been going since the 31st of December. And, ironically, when you're watching tape, half of one eye is like, I know I'm playing them in 2 weeks, so you're watching that. And this will just be a little bit of a different twist in preparation for them.
Coach, 15 years as a head coach, 400 wins, 33 games into this season. I just ask, what did you learn out of this season? What went well for you that you're happy about? What are some things in this offseason you're going to address and say, these are things we've got to get fixed up?
Where did that come from? I say that from, I'm thinking about VCU up here.
I understand that. I'm just saying.
It's a great question.
You're a long way into this season.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty much established who you are. I mean, what went right for you guys this year, and what are some things that in your mind you just need to clean up an area or two?
I still contend we've got to have that level of consistency, and that's the one thing I think that I've thought about, to answer your question about off-season thoughts throughout the course of the season, is how you get a better grip on developing the consistency. But as I think about that, I also think that every team is just so uniquely different. The personnel, the leaders, and I've said this before, the best teams I've had here, your biggest decision on game day was what time do you leave the hotel? Because you knew those guys were coming to play. You knew that we had to practice, Leidy, Lauderdale, and Diebler and those guys literally 45 minutes, and you walked out and felt really, really good that they were going to go and do what they were supposed to do. So that would be the thing I'm searching for in my mind of how to find that.
Obviously, you've had this senior freshman dynamic all season. I'm just wondering, with the NCAA tournament coming up, sometimes that can lead to the teeter-totter. Maybe that's been part of it this year. And sometimes if that balances really nicely, it's a great thing. With the NCAA tournament, do you want these guys to play more off the excitement of the freshmen, or would you rather see the upperclassmen pull those guys aside and say, hey, this is how it needs to go? Or do you let that dynamic go on its own and see if it does strike a balance, if you follow the mask?
Yeah, I think there's been a pretty good balance throughout the course of this season. I think the biggest battle cry they've heard from me throughout this year has been playing for one thing and one thing only, and that's Ohio State. And making sure that we represent this university every time we take the floor. And like I said, going back to that team, I use the example of we were playing Northwestern this year up there, and I felt like a caged animal in my hotel, so I went out for a walk that day and stopped in this little sandwich shop, and there was two elderly people with Ohio State gear on. And so I see them, they're looking in the window, and then they're not, and they're looking. So finally they come in and they said, Coach Matta, we're shocked to see you sitting in here on game day. Could we take a picture with you? This is our Christmas gift to each other. We live in Toledo, and we came to Chicago to watch the Buckeyes. And as I'm sitting there when they left, I said, I wonder how many guys on this team would understand what that means. Because it touched me, and it made me say, damn it, Thad, you've got to win for those two people to save their money to come watch us play in Chicago. And that's kind of been my battle cry with this team, in terms of it's a heck of a lot bigger than us, and we have something that we have to represent. And I think when we do that, we play pretty good basketball. So freshman, sophomore, junior, or no juniors, but freshman, senior, I don't care what you are, just represent the university.
Thad, how much does it help playing and beating a team like Minnesota twice, since they...
Yeah, I thought about that on the drive down. I thought that hopefully that'll give us some type of preparation. Louisville earlier in the season, very similar to that, but we haven't come across a lot of teams that play that way. There's not a whole lot of them out there. Today they didn't do a ton of that, so I don't know. I mean, I think, with the senior guard and D'Angelo, hopefully we're a tough team to press and trap.
A few questions ago when you mentioned maybe the 2010-11 team, you had to only think about the hotel. With this team, there's a lot to think about. With freshmen, sometimes the seniors don't play the way you want them to play. How do you approach making sure that when you guys do leave to that arena, that you feel as good as you can? Because it's been kind of up and down and kind of random this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of searching for that. But I'm going to figure it out. We're going to play well on Thursday whenever we play.
It's kind of a tough situation, though, to be in. I would assume, drawing back on past experiences and whatnot, if there are other teams that might have been like this that you could maybe recall, or anything that maybe was a similar situation to maybe what you're facing this year?
Last year's team was different because we always led in the first half. It was like the complete opposite. This year we get down in the first half. Last year we led in the first half. So hopefully we can, on whatever day it'll be, the 18th or 19th, whatever, we get it all corrected and going in the right direction.
Buy in a lot of people say, boy, you got a dynamic player in D'Angelo Russell. They could, pull a couple upsets. Do you buy in? Is it can a one-man thing, if he gets hot for a couple of days, carry you, or is it much more involved than that as you dive into this tournament with a kid like that? So.
It's probably a little bit more than that. Obviously we're going to need D'Angelo to play really, really well, but our post guys have got to give us more down this stretch. Then they have to play their best. We need some guys to make some shots off the bench and that sort of thing. So I think it's more collectively. Last year when the little guard led UConn, those other guys were playing pretty well too. Their averages were up, their percentages were up, as opposed to what they had been maybe earlier in the season, and that's kind of what you need.
One quick thing, and then the question I was going to ask you. You mentioned the big guys. Any idea what Anthony's situation?
Not going to go.
He's not going on the trip?
No, he'll go on the trip, but he's not going to play.
Not going to play?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We can't get it, and I told him, I said, it's your call. I can't, I'm not going to play you injured. I told Evan Turner, Jared Sullinger, they were done. This isn't about Thad Matta, it's about you, and if you don't feel right, then we won't play you.
So he doesn't feel right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still tugging or whatever it does.
The other thing, something you said after the Michigan State game the other night about coming home and regrouping for the NCAA tournament, you said that they think they know what it takes, but they don't. Were you talking about a level of postseason intensity that they weren't up to Michigan State's level in that game, or what were you talking about?
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, and I will say this, when I got back that night and watched the game, man, did Michigan State play well. I had no idea how well they played in that game. I mean, as I looked at it, and us cutting it to 6 and having a layup to cut it to 4, it was like, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought it was. There is one thing that I was exactly right about, which I won't get into. I had never been more right in my life on that one. So.
But as far as that intensity goes, it just seemed like maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes of the game, every 50-50 ball, every rebound was going to Michigan State. Is that what you saw, and is that what has to get corrected? Yeah,
and once again, I give those guys some credit. Hey, they jumped a little bit higher than we did. They were a little bit quicker to the ball than we were. The thing that was astonishing to me was how well they moved the ball, how well they passed it, and we could never get it contained with the pressure that we like, because they did a great job of moving it.
Have you ever been to Portland? Sorry.
You know what? One time. Recruiting this young man, you guys probably never heard of him, named Kevin Love. Yeah.
Did you get him?
No. It's one of those, you get out there and the coach says, you really want to stay on the West Coast. And I'm like, could you told me that before I came? So I think that's been the only time I've been there. Sure. Yeah.
Did you share the story of the people in the sandwich shop with the team?
I did not. May save it for the right time. I'll tell you guys this. Friday was the first time I've lost eating that sandwich since that game. Now, there's been a couple places I haven't been able to find it, and we got beat. But, one of the coaches called and said, hey, the pregame meal is really good. And I'm like, this place has been too good to me, fellas. We haven't lost. So, yeah, as the clock winded down, I was chasing that guy down the sideline. I said to myself, well, it's not the sandwich. So,
Your first NCAA tournament as a head coach at Butler, do you remember what seed you were?
we were a 10 seed playing number 7 Wake Forest. We were up 43-10 at halftime.
One, and then the 2 seed that was waiting for you
Oh, that's right. It was Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah. That's why I went to the scorer's table and said, please don't stop the clock. Just get this over with. Because we were up by 9 points in that game. And we ran a clear out. Brandon Miller missed a layup in the first half, would have put us up 11. And then they just took it. I mean, that team was loaded.
So, is there a difference at a time of year like this, coaching an Ohio State team that's a 1 or a 2 seed versus an Ohio State team that's a 10 seed? Or is there any difference between coaching a Butler team that's a 10 seed versus an Ohio State team that's a 10 seed? Sort of what I'm getting at is like, I guess when you're a 10 seed at Butler and you're an underdog and that kind of thing.
I know where you're going. There is a difference because the last thing I showed that Butler team was the night before the game. I had one of the stations got a hold of the Wake Forest players being interviewed, and they're like, Butler. Like I'm not sure where it is. I think they played here last year. They played Florida in a real close game, I think, but I'm not sure what league they're in. Blah blah blah. So I rolled that, and like I said, 43-10.
Do you want this team to feel like an underdog in any way, or are you're Ohio State and you can't be an underdog? I don't know.
No, I think that it's perception reality. And the reality is they're the 7 seed, we're the 10 seed. So those basketball geniuses in Indianapolis, they know what they're doing is how I'll tell our guys, and you're picked to lose. You're not supposed to win. We'll be wearing the scarlet jerseys.
I just remember to ask you the question the first question you were asked the other night after the game is the game officiated differently in the NCAA tournament?
How ironic was that?
I don't know what he was going for, but it got a good answer from him. Have you seen in the last 10 years where, and maybe that's another reason you're looking forward to get outside the league, is the officiating difference, and because you're a team that tries not to foul,
Right.
does that officiating maybe benefit you more than Big Ten officiating?
I hope that it does. Just from, as you're alluding to, our style of play is not like a lot of teams in this league, and so I want it looked at one way, and other guys probably want to look at it another way. So you hope that there's the consistency, across the board. And I had a guy tell me the other night that if I call that, then I got to call that on you down there, and that put me over the edge.
Do you think the players feel like they have something to prove, or do you think they sense that they underachieved based on their talent level and all of that? I mean, you get that sense that this is a chance maybe to show that.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny because I in my mind, I think for our seniors, it is a great opportunity for those guys to make somewhat of a statement in terms of what they're remembered here for. I think, their freshman year we had Jared, their sophomore year we had Deshaun, their junior year we had LaQuinton. All guys are playing professionally, be it 2 of them are having great careers overseas. Here it is. You've been to a Final Four, you've been to Elite 8, and you've been knocked out of the first round. What's going to happen now? All right, guys.
Thanks.